Hello, everybody. My name is Shabain, and today I'm here to walk you through an open source project that I've created. But first things first, before we begin, since this is going to be a long video, I'll split it into parts. Where in the first part, which is now, we will discuss what this tool is about and why would your team need one, or how it could be advantageous to your current business processes or your organization. To begin with, I would recommend you going to this link that you see on the screen, which is github.com/shift2 forward slash DOMGMT, abbreviated for DevOps Management. All right, so once you are here, click on the Wiki tab. And when you scroll down, the very first thing you see is a diagram. And let's not bother about it right away. Let's scroll down further and find out what is DOMGMT. Like I said, DOMGMT, it's abbreviated for DevOps Management. It is an open source DevOps tool based on Agile Scrum practices. Now, when I say it is based on Agile and Scrum practices, by that I mean the tool supports Agile and Scrum practices to manage your software development life cycles. It also helps you track your bugs on your existing projects or new projects. And why would you need one? Right, of course, because this is open sourced, it's absolutely free to use. Apart from that, there are a number of advantages that I've listed right here. It primarily solves the purpose of your software development lifecycle and helps you track bugs on your project. It is also a great way for your team to collaborate on your existing or new project, and hence it streamlines your development operations. You can very well track your tasks, and it also helps manage member participation within the sprints that you might have for your projects. And because it's a middleware, a REST API, it gives you the flexibility of creating your own UI. It could be in form of a web app or a desktop app or a mobile app, whatever suits you. With that, I would also like to declare that I will create a UI, or a user interface as you know it, for this middleware that I've created, which of course is again going to be an open source project, absolutely free to use. And I will create a separate series of videos for folks who are into operations or belong to the management team, so that they better understand what this tool has to offer and what advantages or benefits can it bring to their existing processes. All right, moving on, because it's a comprehensive record management system, it can provide some great insights to your operations team or your management team once the UI is up and running. It has built-in validations. In fact, it has a lot of validations built within for strict record keeping. I've also mentioned it is blazing fast. Now, why is it fast, or how is it fast, is something that we will discover during the course of the video. It also has a built-in native token-based authentication system that takes care of your user profile management and forces security, which is authentication and authorization for the users who are accessing this system. If you scroll down further, you'll find a list of functionalities, starting with creating users. Like I said, it has a built-in authentication and authorization system, which can be used to add users, remove users, basically managing your users on this tool. How does it work? You first create the initial password for a user if you are adding a user, and you can also define roles for that user then and there. And once you have created this initial password for the user, you give this initial password to your user, and that helps them set up their credentials, which in turn helps them get security tokens or access tokens from the repository or the database as you know it, to request resources from the database. Uh, it also helps the user set setting up their security questions. This is important in an event of uh, password reset. So say for example, your user who's already there in the system has forgotten his or her password. They can reset their password themselves using this security question. And that is what I've mentioned here in the last point. It allows user to reset their passwords themselves. Uh, Now, say for example, your users have not set up any security questions. That's absolutely fine. As an admin of the system, you can manage their passwords. You can reset their passwords and help them create a new one. Moving forward, now say for example, you have a new project in hand. You would typically create a new project request for your team, and there you describe the user story, right? And you can also upload related documents or files when you're creating this project, or you can also do that later. It manages your release life cycles. So this is something related to the phase of the project. Once you create a new project request, and when you move it to release phase or maintenance phase or support phase, it automatically updates the version of the product. And that is what I mentioned here as well in the last point, that you can create releases, and in turn you can automatically update the product version. Now you can also assign this project to your team members. Say for example, if you are the product owner and you've created a new project request and you would want to assign this to one of your project managers, you can very well do that. Now, I've also mentioned update the project. By this, I mean you can add certain sections to your project or update them. For example, update notes. All right, there are notes on the project which can be updated by you or a person to whom this is assigned. There are other fields that can be updated, and there are certain restricted fields that cannot be updated. For example, the project ID cannot be updated. Moving on, once you have created the new project request, typically you would also want to create an epic on top of that. So you describe your product features derived from your user stories that you've created in the above step. And once you create an epic, it automatically gets added to your new project request that you've created. And that is what I've described here in the first point. You can create product features, or basically you can describe the product features here which are derived from your new project request. Also similarly, you can upload files to the epics that you have created, and you can also edit the epics just as you can edit the new project requests created by you. You can again assign this epics to your team members. Now, for say example, you are a project manager and you would want to assign this to your team lead or your architect to manage the epic. You can definitely do that. With that comes the capability of tracking your epics. Epics typically would have phases, say something, for example, like in progress, on hold, completed, etc. And you can track those statuses. You can also easily find all epics using this middleware. So you can apply certain filters on the middleware, which can help you find these epics and their statuses. Moving forward, you would want to create sprints on top of your epics. Now that you have the user stories or you have the product features with you described in the epics, you would want a set of members in your team to work on these sprints. So say for example, you're the team lead and you have been assigned an epic. You would typically find out few team members who would work on those features of the product in a sprint. So you can do that here. You can prepare your weekly or monthly sprints, and you can also manage member participation. Now, like I said, typically it would be a fewer people working on each sprints. At times it could also be just one, and what you can do is you can manage their participation in the sprints. Sprints also usually have three phases, say to do, doing and done, or the sprints might have tasks within them, which can be categorized as to do, doing, or done. And you can very well define those tasks within the sprints. And once you have created a sprint, you will need to add tasks, to do tasks to the sprints, and to whomsoever you assign this sprint can typically move this to do into doing state. I'm sorry, I mentioned to do here, should be doing. So your participated members in the sprint can move the to do task to doing phase, and then once it is done, they can move the doing tasks to the done state. Again, you can easily find out all the sprints using this middleware. Let's go further. Bug fix. This is another feature of this tool that you can utilize, where you can raise and assign defects or bugs to your team members. So you can raise and assign bugs for an existing project or a new project in hand that you have. You can track the status of the bugs, and like I said, the status could be in hold, on hold, in progress, completed, etc. Now, there are also something called as labels within the bug fix requests. This helps you categorize your bugs. For example, say if you would want to categorize bugs based on from whom was it reported. Was it a customer or was it reported internally? You can create a label for that. Maybe you can create a label for whether the bug is critical or a low priority bug, etc. Again, you can also easily find the bugs using the middleware using different filters, which we will discover during the course of the video. Now, if we scroll back up again and see the diagram, let me also get the size smaller so that the diagram can fit into the screen. Okay, this looks better. So the diagram explains the whole system in general, where you create a user with the credential. The user in step number 2 then uses the credentials to get an access token from the repository, and uses this access token or security token to request resources from the database. The database or the middleware that we are talking about will evaluate this access token and in turn send a JSON response back to the user. That is how the whole thing works. And with that, we complete what and why of this tool. In the subsequent videos, we will clone the project and set it up on a local machine for testing. And those videos from now on will be more technical, and you will be expected to at least have a basic understanding of how middleware or REST APIs work. But like I said, if you're someone who's from the operations team or the management team, just don't worry about it. I will create a separate series of video for you guys once the UI is done. Until then, thank you.